All right, lads, it's a big game, this one. I'm looking for us to dominate possession, build up and play out from the back.
Área como centroavante para fazer o terceiro gol do Cruzeiro, ampliando, né? Vinha tendo uma atuação até um pouco mais... Olha lá. Gol!
I mean, we did play it back, to be fair. Shut up, man. Yo guys, it is your boy Near here, and welcome to FTW. This of course is the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. So what's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Euros are around the corner, and I am gassed. If you don't believe me, I will be taking time off just to watch North Macedonia versus Ukraine. I'm self-employed. Elsewhere, and Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul flirted with each other for 30 minutes straight. Hey, yo, babes, you wanna just quickly... 2 more rounds here from Logan, and he's giving the guy his phone number, which is a problem for Floyd, because he can't read. What do you mean? They're not even letters, they're numbers. Logan even brought out his best Genie Wijnaldum impression. We've all been frauded, lads. It was pay-per-view for glorified Nintendo Wii boxing. Floyd even almost knocked out Logan and had to keep him standing so the bout didn't end. To be fair, I just want someone to hold me like that. People were resorting to watching it in this resolution. Was this filmed on a dishwasher? There was at least some sort of fight up in Middlesbrough, so no real change there. As England beat Romania on home soil 1-0 in a pre-tournament friendly. Wait, Romania? As in from Romania this week? Oh, we're living, boys. It really is the moment we've all been waiting for. They provided the entertainment in this one as well. Firstly, with Dinamo Bucharest fans travelling to the Riverside Stadium to celebrate the club that knocked out their rival Steaua Bucharest in the UEFA Cup many years ago. And then with this man, Vlad Kirikesh. The ex-Spurs defender had an interesting time, and you can see what Tottenham did to him here, giving away this penalty. Nah, mate, the game's gone in my opinion. Jordan Henderson only missed it because Kirikesh threatened to give him the people's elbow if he scored. And Roy Keane isn't that impressed with Jordan Henderson's inclusion in the squad overall.
Now, I've heard people say, well, they want him around the place. For what? What does he do? Card tricks? Does he have a sing-song? Does quizzes in the evenings?
I mean, he did make this goal opportunity disappear, so maybe he can. England's first penalty was scored, though, by Marcus Rashford, whose penalty technique involves dislocating his entire leg. No wonder he's been in bad form. His foot attaches like Mr. Potato Head. James Ward-Prowse put in an unreal performance, only to be snubbed for the final spot in the 26-man squad in favour of Brighton defender Ben White. Don't get me wrong, Ben White's a solid defender and he's versatile. But James Ward-Prowse, we could have just free-kicked and enchilada our way to the final. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen, because we're playing 8 at the back. Maguire, Stones, Walker, Mings, Cody, White, Eric Dyer, Anton Ferdinand, Southgate himself. How Mings is even in the squad is a joke in itself. I'd actually rather have an injured Trent Alexander-Arnold at this stage, and he doesn't have a thigh to speak of. It's not quite Connor Cody levels, though. I'm still convinced he won a competition off a box of cornflakes to get here. One player not going to the tournament, though, is Patrick Bamford, and a selection of Leeds fans made their feelings known at the Riverside. Big fan of this, but equally it's a little bit late now. Mate, you know what? I've seen the light here. Are you gonna choose Patrick Bamford because the fans have asked you to? Luke Ayling! For fuck's sake, man! After the game, one fan reminded Phil Foden he wasn't a European champion.
Mason Mount's won a European Cup.
Look, Phil, it's alright. At least Mason Mount can share it with you at the training camp. And Phil Foden's grabbing the headlines at the moment with his new silver trim, inspired by Paul Gascoigne at Euro 96. Word has it the barber applied the dye and his liver immediately started to hurt. It's been done well, though. There's some great lines there, which is even more reminiscent of Paul Gascoigne. He even matches his silver Champions League medal, so he's really living the life. Honestly, I've decided based off this trim alone, it's actually coming home. I mean, he's either scoring a 90th minute winner and celebrating with 2 Icelandic models on the pitch, wow, or we're going home thanks to a 1-0 loss at the hands of the Czech Republic. It's really up in the air. Could you imagine if Paul Pogba had done this, though? Graham Souness would have double-footed him outside Tesco. But let's see some more retro trims now, yeah? I'm talking Harry Maguire with the David Beckham cornrows. Elsewhere, though, and I refuse to ignore ignore the sour taste left in the mouth from the Romania game, and that was a selection of England fans booing the players taking the knee. Now, regardless of what you think about BLM as an organisation, not as a movement, one day people will realise they are two separate entities, the players have told you explicitly what they are kneeling to achieve, and that is racial equality. Now, they've told that to you many a time. What you're booing is what they're kneeling for. Just because some buildings and businesses got burnt down, which I don't agree with, does not mean that anybody else fighting for the cause is in the exact same vein. And people are suggesting there shouldn't be politics in sports. I mean, for a start, this literally isn't politics. Secondly, these guys, or some of them anyway, are directly involved in the issue. Marcus Rashford goes on social media and gets racially abused. Why should he not be able to stand up and talk about that in the workplace? He's simply talking about his experiences, not politicizing the sport. It's hardly like the players are coming out in press conferences like, yeah, thanks mate, really proud of the brace today, but really and truly I couldn't have done this without Karl Marx and his aim to revolutionize the working class through socio-political ideologies that will aim to overthrow the capitalist state. Harry Kane can't communicate what he wants to say at the best of times. And let's be real, any stance would result in the same reaction, wouldn't it? Peaceful protest against racial inequality has existed long before BLM, and so has kneeling. See Colin Kaepernick in 2016, and that was met with the exact same reaction. One fan physically filmed himself in front of the TV booing as it was going on. Boo! Boo! But you had to kneel down to film this. Forget about it. It's crazy what losing the wife and kids will do to a man, or having 6 fingers on one hand. I know for a fact this guy sleeps with the light on, and that's because the night is far too dark for him. He hasn't locked his phone in 3 years because the screen goes black. Anyway, regardless of how, I hope we continue to see footballers fight against social injustice, whatever the situation, on and off the pitch. Now for France, and they beat Bulgaria in their final warm-up game ahead of Euro 2020, and they won 3-0, starting the scoring with an Antoine Griezmann bicycle kick. He then celebrated like this. It's like winning the World Cup and then dabbing afterwards. Aye, Paul. Yeah, don't hurt me, but I didn't mean it like that. But meanwhile, over in Germany, and they beat Latvia 7-1, a side that allowed Timo Werner to score. Send the whole country into administration. It's mad that after all the drama, Mesut Ozil still found himself sneaking into the Germany squad. Now, there was chaos in North America as the USA beat Mexico 3-2 in the inaugural Concacaf Nations Conference Division League Northeast. But that doesn't tell the full story. The US came from behind twice, then scored an extra time penalty given by VAR.
It's a penalty for the US!
Big man, you could have just pointed, like, you didn't have to. Christian Pulisic then shushed the Mexican crowd. It's a good job it wasn't the other way around, because the Americans wouldn't have been making any noise anyway. Before Mexico then had their own VAR penalty saved by the US's substitute goalkeeper. There was a scrap in 90 minutes, which was already better than Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul, and a second in extra time as well. They've already had the rematch, lads. A streaker arrived on the scene with a few minutes to go. He had the same touches in this final as Kevin De Bruyne did in the Champions League. A fan broke into CBS's studio whilst they were on air.
Wow, sorry everybody.
This was one event away from recreating a YouTube thumbnail. Yeah, bro, not gonna lie, it was a pretty gnarly game, like, overall. Pretty wicked. Honestly, with how ridiculous this game was, I wouldn't have been surprised if the US brought on Donald Trump at right wing. I've decided we need an extra wall. Donald, mate, there's already what this free kick is hard enough as it is. In Brazil, and 2 overexcited fans ran to Neymar in an attempt to hug him as he stepped off a team coach, but slipped and slide tackled him, leaving him with an injury. To be fair, that's a better challenge than any Tyrone Mings has put in the last few weeks. Robert Lewandowski's enjoying himself at international training.
Whoa!
See, this is why this man was not allowed to win the Ballon d'Or. And after Atletico Madrid's La Liga title win, Yannick Carrasco was not allowing Real Madrid's Eden Hazard to forget about it, interrupting his interview to shout Championes in his face. It's a shithousery award for the big man. In the Premier League now, and there's the news that talks between Tottenham Hotspur and Italian manager Antonio Conte have now broken down. The Italian looked favourite to be appointed at one stage until he looked at Spurs' bank account. Are we really surprised? This was bound to happen from the start, especially with Daniel Levy's bargaining techniques.
How much is this?
149, sir.
I've got 50p. Fuck you, bastard.
Alright, so what's next on the agenda? Well, Daniel, obviously I can't do this on my own. I'm gonna need some kind of backroom staff. So, you see, that's where we can have to differentiate. He's dodged a bullet anyway. Anthony Joshua's boxing at Tottenham's new stadium, and that's the only title fight they're gonna see there. The PFA Players Player of the Year was announced this week, and it was Kevin De Bruyne. I may actually genuinely have to call the police. It's not that he's had a bad season, but it was injury hit. 10 plus assists and 6 goals in 25 games compared to Harry Kane winning the Golden Boot and getting the most assists. I just don't see it. To be fair, it's voted by the players and they know more than me, but it seems like an odd one. Coincidence that Manchester City have the biggest squad and Kevin De Bruyne won? They just got them to vote for him. There's the news that the top 6 ESL breakaway clubs are going to be fined £20 million in total for their involvement in the competition. That's £20 million shared, so £3 million each.
Oh, scary. Oh, shiver my timbers. Shut up, man.
I mean, in fairness, that's Liverpool's transfer budget completely wiped clean. Stan Kroenke hasn't had to invest this much in Arsenal for years. We'll be seeing bailiffs round at Tottenham when Daniel Levy tries to pay the fine in discount codes. Despite the threat of a 30-point deduction if this was to happen again, this is a shambolic precedent. These guys almost ruined English football forever, and you've given them a fine that's a backup right back in the Championship. On Instagram, when Alexander Zinchenko is celebrating his wife's pregnancy, Kevin De Bruyne came in with a comment congratulating him as his own son. Grandfather at 29. Sounds like Hull to me. Meanwhile, on Sky News and Sven-Göran Eriksson's getting interviewed. Seems like someone else is trying to grab his attention though.
Richard.
Quick thought before I ask you one more question, because it does look like Mr. Opik really does want to talk to you.
I just really wish he'd answered, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Sorry, yeah, excuse me, let me just take this for a second. You pagan, I'm on Sky Sports at the moment, you dickhead. Get off my Leeds manager Marcelo Bielsa took time out this week to coach a set of under-11s. I'm sure they enjoyed the experience, even though they may not have been able to understand him. West Ham released a new special club and country shirt that matches their home kit with England's, and even Mark Noble is not Brexit enough for this. This is the closest he's got to an England call-up, and he still hates it. Antoine Griezmann took to Instagram to show off the fact that he'd signed Kylian Mbappe for Newcastle in his football manager save. Newcastle fans crying at what could have been. Meanwhile, Marcus Rashford wished a speedy recovery to Manchester United teammate Donny van de Beek after the Dutchman was declared not fit for the Euros. I'm not being funny. Do we have to do it on Twitter? Do you not have the guy's phone number? Furthermore, how's the guy even got injured? He's not even playing any football. Manito. Hello all and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty.
Acaba sendo desarmado e a defesa do Inter exposta. Vem o Robson, preparou, passou pelo Cuesta, rolou! Goal!
And that concludes The Beautiful Game. Over in Italy, and Lazio have announced their new manager in the form of Maurizio Sarri, and this is how they did it. Can't wait for the press conference to just be a pack of Marlboro. Over in Germany, and there's the quite crazy story of Congolese forward Silas over at Stuttgart. He confirmed that his second name, Wamangtuka, wasn't actually his real name. Instead, that his real identity was Silas Katompa Mvumpa. He confirmed that he'd been exploited by a former agent who told him he wouldn't be able to return to Belgium for a trial if he didn't change some of his identity. That included his birth year, which was formerly understood as 1999, but in actuality is 1998. It's actually quite a sad story overall. I'm glad that he's been able to overcome it and obviously succeed and feel comfortable enough to say this, but young African footballers being exploited by agents either financially or when it comes to work permits is unfortunately not a very uncommon thing. There's the news that the Spanish Cup is to be held in Saudi Arabia for the next 9 years. Maybe we should have allowed the Super League after all. Over in Poland,
O Jezu.
it's the fact he's giving him a yellow card afterwards. Yeah, mate, I'm afraid it's a high foot. I've just fallen out of the sky. Exactly, it was a high foot. In France, and this celebration seemed a little bit premature. There's wholesome stuff in Senegal as these locals responded to Edouard Mendy coming back home after his Champions League victory. Meanwhile, in Ghana, and there are simply no rules whatsoever.
And he gives the ball away. This could be an opportunity for it, but no, Jeffy goes down in the process.
And I don't know why Jeffy is still complaining, Prince.
The keeper's just played rugby outside the penalty area. That's why he's complaining. But now, boys and girls, it's time for the FNG Transfer Roundup. Welcome one and all to the FNG Transfer Roundup, your last place to hear about the news. Our first story comes in the form of Emiliano Buendia choosing to sign for Aston Villa over Arsenal. Oh wait, hang on, he chose Villa? In reality, Arsenal probably only offered £250,000 plus Cedric Suarez anyway, but we have an official statement here as to why Buendia chose the Villains over Arsenal. Elsewhere, and Gini Wijnaldum has chosen a slightly lesser train wreck in PSG over an absolutely gigantic train wreck in Barcelona. It's rumoured that one inside source swayed his decision late on. And finally, there's reports that Manchester United want to sign Tottenham midfielder Harry Winks. Ollie, you said you wanted a Harry that played for Tottenham. I don't see what more I could have done here. Eden Hazard's featured in a new McDonald's advert. I mean, you want me to make a joke, but that would be a new low, just like his fitness levels. This substitution for Argentina between El Martinez and El Martinez is giving me a bit of a headache. Over in Colombia and in their 3-0 win over Peru, it was a roller coaster of emotions for Daniel Munoz, who was substituted on just before the hour mark, then sent off 2 minutes later. Over in the USA, and we've got this outrageous goal in the league.
As they've gone for glory. Oh, it's a glory strike! Where did gravity go?
Meanwhile, in Brazil now.
Ativa do Hugo. Ele com o Nery Barreiro, os dois trombaram. Olha só, Bruno Mezenga na reposição. Gol!
Now that it's time for still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now, this is the segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. And this week, I'm treating you. I've got two stories. Well, I say stories. The first one is just a stereotypical piece of Sunday League action. And in true fashion, we didn't even get to find out what happened at the end of the clip. Sunday League level filming as well. And elsewhere in a game between Bereton Lion and Dormans, this video captures the exact moment that cooling towers were destroyed in the background of a game happening. Oh yeah, they were pretty big, innit? Yeah, man. On to the weird stuff, though, now. There's the news out of India that international forward Sunil Chhetri has overtaken Lionel Messi's tally of international goals. If we're not going to give it to Lewandowski for this, then give the Ballon d'Or to Sunil right now. Roma centre-back Chris Smalling claimed that he and his wife saw a UFO this week. This poor man's still in pain after the thrashing they got from United. The Secretary General for Football in the small African nation of Lesotho has claimed that a selection of players performed badly in their most recent game against Mozambique because they were found to be smoking weed before the game started. Scottish side Whitlett's Victoria have got a new goal celebration for their social media. And finally, we have the extremely wholesome video of an Argentinian fan. He supported Club Atletico Colón for his entire life. And finally, this week saw his team win the Argentinian League for the very first time. But that is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at the official FNG on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.